Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, we're talking about Dark Empire 2 by Tom Veitch and Cam Kennedy. Cam Kennedy was the artist here. But Tom Veitch has written his part 2 to his massively successful Dark Empire books. And now that everyone's read Dark Empire, we were so looking forward to what Dark Empire 2 was going to be about. Well, in this one, basically a lot of things happen. Remember I told you it starts off with Luke and Cam Sasalier just out of the blue, and they're looking for Jedi artifacts, which takes them to a lot of places. One of the places is Oseus, which is from Tales of the Jedi. But anyway, meanwhile, Cedrus is running the Empire until they discover that the Emperor has found new clones. And of course, the Emperor his dark presence has entered into more clones now. So he is still alive, even though you thought you got rid of him in the first book. Nope, he's coming back, and here he is again. You just can't keep the Emperor down. And it makes sense where he would have backups of other cloning facilities. So I wasn't really too worried about that because the Emperor is the main villain in this Dark Empire trilogy. Now, this comic book introduces us to Salazend, who is an old girlfriend of Han Solo's. You're also going to hear about Shug Nix, who's a mechanic. Mako Spence, who I've talked about before. He was with Han in the Imperial Academy, and some of these people were actually in the first Dark Empire book. But these are, I should have mentioned this, these are important characters, or memorable characters that Tom Veitch created for the Dark Empire series. So very similar to Timothy Zahn, I believe Tom Veitch introduced us to some really awesome characters. Unfortunately, these characters get little or zero time within the novels or comic books going forward, which is sad because I did find each one of these characters extremely interesting and well written. So what are some things that are going on right now? Well, the mysterious Vima Dabudu is guiding Luke through giving him advice on some things. Who is she? We know there's some connection to the old Jedi of before, but we really don't know what it is yet. Her history is shrouded in mystery. Ooh, that rhymed. Also, Fett is still on the hunt to Han Solo. He cannot let that go. He's got to hound Han Solo, so Han Solo is still trying to escape him. The Millennium Falcon has something on it called a lightning gun, if I remember right, and this lightning gun is able to immobilize the Slave One and let Han escape his evil clutches. Don't know what I thought about the lightning gun being attached to Millennium Falcon, but there's always pieces and parts always being interchangeable on the Falcon from time to time. We don't hear about the lightning gun anywhere else, but of course that's Dark Empire for you. It was that unique. Going back to Luke and Cam real quick, in the later comic books, they encounter the Yasana tribe, and they encounter a brother and sister, Raph and Jim. Now, Jim is kind of a romantic interest for Luke Skywalker. See, it's Dark Horse's turn to introduce a love interest into Luke Skywalker, who he does fall in love with. He does fall in love with Jim for a little bit. And the Yasana group are a tribe of Force users. They have very light connections to the Force. Luke can easily repel any attack by them, but they do share a unique connection to the Force, which Luke can appreciate. Well, to fast forward a little bit through this story, Cedrus, who's kind of the main villain, he's one of the Dark Jedi, he confronts Luke and his friends on this planet where this tree, yes, a tree, comes to life and takes out Cedrus, actually sacrifices himself and destroys himself and Cedrus. This tree is Ood Benor, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I don't know how you pronounce any of these, so if I get it wrong, who cares? But once he disappears, we find out that he's been sitting on a cache of lightsabers. Now, this was talked about in Tales of the Jedi, so if you're reading this in chronological order, you already knew that was there. But Kevin J. Anderson went back and kind of filled in the lore for Dark Empire 2 here. Also, and this is what Luke has been waiting for, is a full collection, a Jedi library is there as well. So not only is a cache of lightsabers nice, but there's a full Jedi library, and that's what he wants, because he's trying to build an academy. You can kind of see where this is going, right? Luke wants to rebuild the Jedi Order now, and he's slowly doing that starting in Dark Empire 2. But he needs some, some reference books and stuff. So that's what he's on the look at. That's why he's trying to find these holocrons that can help teach him and guide him in the ways of the Force, and to where he can teach and guide others to rebuild the Jedi Order. Meanwhile, now that the world devastators are destroyed, the Emperor has a new super weapon he's ready to try out. It's the Galaxy Gun. It's basically a stripped down version of the Death Star. And so with the Galaxy Gun, he can shoot it anywhere in the galaxy, can destroy things. It's very similar to the Star Killer project. But anyway, one of the cool things that we see here is, I think it's in issue 4 or 5, there are these mutated Sith Rancor. They've been mutated through Sith alchemy, which we very rarely see in books or comic books. Sith alchemy being used more in the comic books than in the books. But there are these mutated Rancors. Rancors are already evil looking, right? But a Sith Rancor, woo, that's no good. Now Lando is of course in this, but he's basically there as a warm body. He is given some dialogue, somewhat of a story arc, but not as heavily used in these comic books as I felt he needed to be. I mean, he's still there, which I was happy to see him, but not as influential as I wanted him to be. Of course, I want Lando to be maybe the center of every book. Now in Dark Empire 2, a few things happen. First off, Anakin Solo is born. So here comes Leia. We already know she has twins. Well, now she's giving birth to Anakin, her final child, so to speak. So we see the birth of another great character in the expanded universe happen right there in the comic books. Sadly for Luke, though, Jim is going to bite the dust and die because nobody likes Jim. They want Luke and Mara. They don't want Jim and Luke. So Jim, who is truly outrageous, gets killed off, and Luke is set, heartbroken. A love of his life died. Did I like the Jim-Luke connection? Did I like this couple? Absolutely not. I didn't like it either. I didn't think Luke would fall in love with someone like that, who is very timid and shy. Just seemed to, I mean, maybe she had that farm girl charm that he remembers on Tatooine, but they just didn't seem like that good of a match. I mean, they tried to make Jim a little bit better character and a better fit for Luke as the comic book series went on, but I just never bought into it. So I never was for the Luke-Jim connection there. So anyway, that's where Dark Empire 2 ends. It kind of ends a little bit on a cliffhanger because they knew that a third one was coming out. But that one I'll get to in another video. See you later.